Okay, you're on.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being patient. We had some technical difficulties.
Can you sit in front of the mic?
Um,
No.
no, not right now.
Okay.
Plus, I'm a new board member and this is my first time hosting. So, so thank you, thank you. And I want to welcome you all here to our June gathering. Is anyone here for the first time? Yay, welcome. That's okay. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you here. So, if you have a phone or any other device, please put it on mute. And we have a really wonderful program for you this afternoon. And our first teller is Sir Lawrence, and the name of his story is Flying High on the Beach. And if you had a chance to get a program, you'll see a bio that Sir Lawrence gave me, and he actually gave me several bios to pick from. So one that I think he really liked that I didn't select is that he told me about a time that he was in Marin County on Mount Tam, and he was playing Frisbee, and the fog rolled in, and the lady that he was playing Frisbee with, they continued to toss the Frisbee to each other through the fog, even though they couldn't see each other. So anyway, let's give Sir Lawrence some love.
Good afternoon. Most of you don't know me because that's the first time I have performed in person for about 5 years. I've told stories on the phone, but I'm here now. And I want to let you know that I'm so glad to be here with Michelle. And I really want to support her. Yes, my story is high flying on the beach. Years and years ago, like 50 years ago, I lived in Mill Valley in Marin County. I was part of a community center that promoted the arts. We had arts for seniors, young people, children of all ages. We had pottery, cooking, storytelling, we had drama, we had choir, we had a bunch of different arts, and was supported by a couple of famous people that still live here today. And that's Mr. Santana and also a country western singer, Bonnie Raitt, who still lives in Marin County. Anyway, the school is in an elementary school that was abandoned, and the city gave this to us, and we called this organization the Gift because everybody who has a talent has a gift, and we are encouraging people to give this to mankind to make people happy. And so one of these days, when I was down on the beach, it was the annual fundraiser. And we all had ideas about how we could raise money for the gift. My friend Paul, who was from Trinidad, and I were on the staff, and we decided that we'd do 900 throws back and forth about 3 yards apart on the beach. And because he was not really skillful in that, he hadn't played frisbee for a long time, we practiced for about an hour. Now, dealing with seagulls is one thing. They were really curious about what this whizzing round thing going by them. Plus, while we were practicing for about 40 minutes, a fog bank came in. So it was quite a challenge to know about the wind and the fog and everything. And we prayed that we would have clear weather. Yes, we successfully did it. On down the beach, there was other games and things that were fundraisers. Like there was an Asian volleyball game that was done by a wicker ball that really hurt. and they couldn't touch it with their hands, but they could hit it with their elbow or head or shoulder. And that was fascinating to watch. And on down farther, there were people making sandcastles. And so everybody was trying to do their part in creating something for the gift. Well, when Paul and I got started, we were doing really good. And we caught, we made 900 throws and we caught 840 of them. That was a really good percentage. Some of the others, the wind caught it and was hard to catch, or something happened, the seagull was interfering, but we made it. And we raised over $300. And that was back in the 70s, and that was really good money. Well, we enjoyed this, and my friend Paul was hungry by the time that he got done, and he wanted to get a burrito from a neighboring shop. And he sat down on a rock and was trying to eat a burrito. And I turned my back, was watching the volleyball, when I heard him exclaim, "You thief! You stole my burrito!" And I turned around, and Paul had said that a seagull came along and snatched him out of his hand. That really happened. So he had to go back and get another burrito. And it was a special burrito made out of crab meat inside. Very unusual. But we had a wonderful time there, and it was a beautiful day, and Stinson Beach, right in Marin County, and it was a wonderful time, and we raised a lot of money for the gift. I reminded Paul that he gave a gift to that seagull when he gave that burrito. He smiled and laughed, I know, and he said, "You're right," and he smiled. Thank you for listening.
He's gonna take that.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna move you over. You're only going 2 steps. We don't have time to put that in front down.
All right, thank you very much, Sir Lawrence.
We can hear you on mine.
Oh, I got you.
Gotcha.
All right.
Sit, great.
Great. Thank you very much, Sir Lawrence. Isn't that a great story? You know, that's the perfect place to be on a summer day, right?
Yeah.
Stinson Beach, Marin County, yes. All right, our next teller is S.M. Carruthers, and she's going to be joining us from Zoom. She lives in the lovely city of, I think, Grass Valley or Nevada City. I think Grass Valley.
Auburn.
And the name of her story is Riding the Waves. Well, she's actually going to tell a story, but first she's going to share some of her poetry
Okay.
with us. So her poetry, Riding the Waves and Other Poems, and then she's going to also tell us a story. And I just really want to thank SM so much for joining us today. It was a little bit of a time crunch because she has just returned from North Carolina. She was visiting some family that lived down there, but despite maybe having a little bit of jet lag, she still made time to be with us today. So let's give SM Carruthers a nice welcome.
Thank you. The
Call me up. Wait a second. Did you say hi, Suzanne? We're not hearing you.
hello.
No, we're not hearing you.
You still can't hear me?
Audio, hold on. No.
You have the eyes. Does she have her audio
Yeah,
on?
she does.
Yes, I do.
I can hear you.
We heard you before too. I heard you earlier.
Is she hearing you?
You hear? Well, she can't hear me.
Oh.
Hold on.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me, Suzanne?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. You can't hear me,
Yes.
apparently.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up if you can hear me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. She can hear you, but we don't hear her.
We don't hear you.
She's got the mute
Because
on.
it says to mute. I can mute and unmute.
I don't think there's
But
any
she might
mute.
have it on muted on
No,
her
she
side.
doesn't
Oh.
because it says mute, ask to unmute. There you go.
That's yours. Hers, she might have still on mute.
Are you on mute?
I turned it off. Can you hear me now?
Mute my audio.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear
She
you.
has her sound
Oh, it's
up.
on. See, it's on.
So something on their end.
Yes, I don't want to mute her. I don't want to stop.
Suzanne, can you hear me?
Yes. Can
Okay,
you hear
okay.
me?
Yes, I can. So we're good. I think it's something on their end.
On whose,
No, don't change host, I think.
You mean
co-host-
Zoom?
Co-host.
I know at the
Yeah.
guild,
Yeah.
something on their
Oh,
computer settings
okay.
that makes it so they can't hear
I
us.
don't see making, I don't see.
Where are you?
Me?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm in Seattle area.
Oh, right.
Oh, my, okay.
How about you?
Auburn, California.
Oh, okay, okay.
But they could hear me before. I know they could. So what did they plug in?
You want to log out and log in one more time, Suzanne?
Not the
Okay,
issue.
sure.
Is the other person able to
I-
speak
yes.
aloud and
Yes.
be
No,
heard?
she can hear us, but no.
Yep.
She can hear us, we can't hear her.
I didn't, she's on mute. No, Claudia-
She's in
Claudia-
Seattle,
Claudia-
if you can't tell. I can log in and out. Hold
Hi,
on.
Suzanne, you wanna try logging off and logging on again?
Okay. Leave me.
Join the meeting, okay, let's try that.
Can that remaining participant speak aloud?
No,
Yes,
she was hearing me.
I
Yeah.
think she can hear her.
I'm here.
We can hear you and hear each other. Oh, you can hear her. Oh, wow. But not, we don't. So in other words, Claudine could hear Suzanne. But now Suzanne's
Yeah.
logging in again, although I don't see her logged in.
You able to look on the audio, look at the speaker options? Sometimes you can change.
Well, I've gotta wait till
Till she comes back in.
she's not in yet again. I'm waiting for a
Jump up there and help. I was gonna say,
If you wanna come up, but I don't see.
John, I'm sure you know more.
I can start the recording. Yes.
To the buoy. Will be warm. Well, we jumped in that water and we knew what the kids were talking about. We weren't gonna let it go. We swam, we swam, we swam. We got to the buoy and we're both going like this. I think we better go back in. I think we better go back in. Quickly turned around and swam back in and agreed with the children. It was a little too cold. So there we sat, spending the whole Saturday of this long weekend under our towels. So I promised the kids we would be able to swim that year. So we found out that there was a little community pool, and next day before we left in the morning, we took the kids to the pool. And as usual, water, they were in there and swimming because I had two little fitties and a mama fitty too, who loved to swim in the pool.
Thank you, Karen. That was a very charming story. And, I really should have said this early on, but our theme for June this month is Life's a Beach, Enjoy the Waves. So we've got a lot of beachy, watery stories for you. And our next teller is Suzanne Lucor. And Suzanne is such a talented person. In addition to being a marvelous storyteller, she is a fantastic artist. And she runs her own company, her own public relations company. She's a great cook. Some of the food that we're going to be enjoying at the break, Suzanne prepared. And I think you also do comedy, don't you, Suzanne? Coquito comedy. So she is just multi-talented, and she is also the creative force behind our wonderful program. So we thank her for that as well. Let's welcome Suzanne. And the name of Suzanne's story, well, Knucklehead.
I'm Suzanne, like shoes on. And I always say that because people say Suzanne and Susan, which is there's a great names, but it's not mine. And so I wanted to tell you the story about Knucklehead, but let us say it starts with out in the country, my parents did not believe in spaying or neutering dogs. We started with 2. I was about 2 years old. It was my job to feed the dogs. My mom worked at the cafeteria washing dishes at Yuba College. She scraped out the food and would bring it home in buckets, and it was my job to feed the dogs. So about 8 years old, that was my task. By the time I was 15, we had 26 dogs. So it turns out I'm also kind of allergic, and I didn't know. I kept sneezing and kind of eyes tearing up every time I fed the dogs. And I thought it was just, I didn't like them. And that was why I had a couple of pets that I really liked, but because they scratched and crawled and barked at me all the time, I was separating the little puppies from the big puppies. And it just never really, the big, huge dogs actually. And some of them were Great Danes that begot German Shepherds. And so they were huge dogs. And don't even ask me about the little poodle how I got into that mix. So I don't know, it's one of those begatting things. My dad would say, well, God said it, let them be great creatures. And I said, well, where in the Bible is that? But in any case, that's all right. So now we jump ahead. I have gotten a little chunky. I moved to Midtown, 19th and H. Didn't really have that many friends, but I decided I'm going to go and start walking and lose some weight. Well, my idea of walking was really slow pace. And I figured one day I wasn't going to get any cardio, but my neighbor across the street had this dog, Knucklehead, who was a pit bull, a wet nose, velvet jowls. He spoke in a Southern accent. Suzanne, I love everybody. Come on and walk with me. Now, Brian his owner had a chain about 4 foot long, an actual metal chain. And it was my job to watch or to walk this dog. And not necessarily a job, but I chose this as a path to my thinner, better self. And I was walking him around the neighborhood. I would take him through Capitol Park. He would put his nose up at some politicians and yet put them down, and I swear, smile at others like he knew. We would go all the way around, and yet one hot summer day, I decided to walk him. I had bought an extension leash, a 16-foot extension leash, bright blue, because I wanted him to be able to have the freedom to go a little to the left and a little to the right without pulling me down. Well, he saw a woman, but the woman and the baby didn't seem to be of any interest in him. Oh, there's a Chihuahua, and I think I'm in love. He took off after the Chihuahua. The baby was oblivious, but the woman was like, stop, the dog, stop him. Now, he's now in a full-blown run, which means I am. Down I went. I screamed. As the tree roots had lifted part of the sidewalk, my hand jammed into the lifted sidewalk. My hands were crushed, broke my hand in 9 places. So I had 9 bolts in my hand. I had no medical insurance because I had worked for a company as a communications director for the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges. Worked there 2.5 months, 2 weeks before I had medical insurance. So the $32,000 injury made Brian and Knucklehead my slaves. So Brian would wash my car. He would make me a gastronomical, disgusting dish of eggs and chili con carne. But I had no choice. So a couple of nights after being, at home, in the middle of the night, chirp, but it was more like chirp. 30 seconds later, chirp. Oh no. 10-foot ceilings on the second floor. My ladder in the basement. There was no way I was going to get it. But you can't sleep with the chirp. So I did what anybody would do. I called Brian 2 in the morning. I said, Brian, my smoke alarm is beeping and I can't stop it. Now he took it in his mind that my house is on fire. Now, Brian had a normal fashion sense of short shirts, sometimes a high rise little tank top and cowboy boots with 2 different colored tube socks. Well, that day he didn't make it over that middle of the night. He made it over in tidy whities, cowboy boots, a big black umbrella in the left hand, and knucklehead with a little scarf. Came in, where's the fire? Brian, there's no fire. My 9-volt battery is beeping upstairs. Well, he was relieved, but a little perturbed. But he went and got the ladder and he took down the battery. He said, do you have any more 9 volts? And I said, no, we'll worry about it tomorrow. But thank you. Good night. So he left and I went back to sleep. The morning, about 7 o'clock, I start walking to the little coffee shop, which is ironic because I don't drink coffee. And my neighbor walked by and he said, bitch. And not in a RuPaul sweet way, but in a I'm a bitch way. And what happened? What's going on? Why are you calling me that? Well, Brian woke me up at 2:30 in the morning asking me for a 9-volt battery. I'm so sorry. So we made peace eventually. And one day, Brian was, he was a musician. He had a big concert in the park at 9th and J. And they had checked into the Citizen Hotel, his band. They brought Knucklehead, which I didn't know the hotel was a dog-friendly hotel. At that time, it was 16 years ago. Didn't even know that it existed. So he said, it's 106 degrees. You can't take a dog to the park during the concert. Will you watch Knucklehead? Okay, here's the key card. We're on the 3rd floor. Just take the elevator. It's right to the right. Okay, go there. Key card doesn't work. It's 106 outside. I can't go. You can't just hang out in the lobby with a pit bull. It's not really the ideal thing. So I kept trying. And finally I said, there's nothing else I can do. I'm going to go to the lobby. So I took Knucklehead with his bright blue extension leash on a short little cord and took him to the front counter. Mr. Knucklehead's key does not work. They let me in. They gave me a new card. And so there, Knucklehead and I were very close. I took him to my office and I set him on the couch and I put the news and review in front of him and reading glasses. And I actually have a picture of it and I gave it to Michelle so she can pass it around. This is true. And Knucklehead, I swear, looked left to right as he was reading the paper. And people would come in, is that dog reading? Yes, he is. So Knucklehead eventually moved to Washington State, to near Bellingham, to a lake. And he got to spend his last few years walking around and gathering sea glass on the little shores of one of the islands. And when he passed, he couldn't really walk anymore. Brian would take him in a canoe and lift him up and take him so his little paws wouldn't get wet. And my heart had melted already. Knucklehead felt like he was my dog too. And although Knucklehead is no longer here, there is a video on YouTube of him collecting sea glass. And there's about 200 views. I have a link. And 180 of them probably are mine. So here's to Knucklehead, to the dog that brought me back to loving animals. And my friend Tanya's here, and I've had the fortunate pleasure of watching her dogs for a short period of time. Thank you.
I think I love Knucklehead too. Okay, now is it break time?
If Todd's here, you.
Oh, okay. All right, Todd. All right. I'd like to welcome my good friend, Todd Boyd. And I contacted Todd and I said, hey, Todd, can you participate in the program? And he goes, yeah, I got some beachy poetry. And Todd is just a wonderful poet. He also writes prose, and we have been in a critique group together. I've been a little AWOL because I got a little busy, but he's just a fun guy, and he has a wonderful voice. You could do voiceover work. Do you know that? I think you could. All right. So let's give Todd a great big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Since I'm the poet, I get to read. And, actually, I like storytelling, and I consider myself a storyteller, probably more than a. Thank you. And so, first of all, I guess I do want to put in a plug for Confluence, which is our critique group, the Sacramento Thursday Writers Group anthology that we did last year. Michelle is part of this, Jennifer, Nanette, who's here, and also SM Carruthers, who hopefully we'll hear from. But we've all written poetry, stories, short stories, and prose. So if you want to pick up a copy, I think okay, Jennifer has some copy. So when Michelle asked me and found out what the theme was, beachy poems or beachy prose or beachy stories. That's I couldn't resist it. So I want to thank the Guild and Michelle for allowing me to come. So this is called, what I did was I tried to put together the aspects of the beach that meant a lot to me, because I spent a lot of time at the beach, a lot of beaches around the world, actually. So, but this one is called, it's about 10 minutes long, so that's my allotment, right? And it's in 3 parts, so I'll just roll along. So, Stinson Beach, Jabelina's sweet tooth haunting, or X marks the spot. Part 1, waiting for the swells. I bobbin, I rockin' and a roll. I scrollin' along with the swells, looking for the rise of the one I will ride. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, over and over, 5, 6, 7. I call, for they say it's the 7th wave, the tallest and the meanest of them all. When I get to 13 or 14, I begin to think like I may have made a mistake. I'm more like a seal or a sitting duck, just floating there. I'm reminded of the sign that reads, danger, great whites like it here, or something like that. I say, come on, let's go. I'm in a rush. I'm getting cold. I finally see it, the one I'll ride. It rises like Moby Dick, a monster to me. I turn toward the shore. Sunbathers, swimmers, and kids seem so tiny. My wave looms and moves like a water wall above me. I'm pulled up and sucked into the curl, thrown out like I'm a bird. I spread my arms, quick and bumpy kind of roller coaster. The shore rushes toward me, somersault under, then up, and I'm free. I tumble out and pop up and stand and watch what once a mighty wave splash up on the sand, slide back to where it came. It's infinite, simple, natural routine. All people go there to see, and some to ride the wild surf like bronco busting in Wyoming. Part 2. The beach. Stinson was the beach where I went, summertime spent. Later took my kid and their kids after that. The Rocks, the place where I'd marry my loving wife, and Red Top Rock to the south, where my uncle once pissed over the edge and said, "This is the longest piss in the world." And to the north, Bolinas Lagoon, where tides split the towns in two, ebbed and flooded on their way through Bolinas. Fishermen leave leopard sharks to die alone, and bullheads too. Crabs, bad luck, alone on the sand, stranded against the snapping beaks of gulls. Don't leave your lunch alone either. While sandpipers skitter at the water's edge as it ebbs and flows, waves retreat and sand crabs wriggle under your toes. At king tide, relentless swells crest far out, slide far up the beach, uncovering children's toys long forsaken and forever lost, arise. Exposed from the sands, back to the surface they come, where once they were last seen. Old tennis balls, dogs could not retrieve, a small rubber great white all caught, clothes and buckets and dead things too, in a tangled mesh of kelp, rope, grass, and driftwood. Walks on a dreary, foggy day, though thrilled by the capture of many colorful rocks and shells, perfect sand dollars, old odd driftwood shapes and other things. Children's sandcastles delightfully made to only disappear in the next tidal surge. No imaginary moat big enough to stem that watery invader. The sign that warns there's great whites here, one attack or two. Dogs run freely and dash over to other canines arriving new. Sniff each other out front and rear, then off to retrieve a ball or chase sandpipers or gulls, and pelicans dive like suicide bombers offshore. Everyone loves the beach dog and no pony show. And as a teen, there was a red-haired girl over in Bolinas I wanted to meet. Part 3, the beach towns. In January 1971, 2 Standard oil tankers collided in San Francisco Bay. 800,000 gallons of black, brown, thick, slippery oil spilled into the bay and contaminated the northern coast outside the Golden Gate. Stinson was one of the victims of that spill. The Coast Guard, Standard Oil, Marin County hippies, as well as many other residents and volunteers of the area, fought to clean the coastline and try and save thousands of birds and wildlife. So I stayed for a while. Bolinas. I hitchhiked the 7 miles from Stinson Beach just to get a cinnamon roll at the Black Muslim bakery in the Bolinas store. The red-haired girl long ago in my past. Richard Brodigan at the Bolinas laundromat, wearing his famous top hat. Grace Slick walked baby China past. Hey, did you hear about Watergate? Time to march and time to protest. Grace Slick says once they go down that rabbit hole, it'll never be the same. Richard Brodigan replies, watermelon seeds. Morning at Stinson Beach. Get up. My dog Joe, sleeping at 7-Eleven store. Cherry's flower stand, organic food store, Steve Miller Band. Jerry Garcia, Commander Cody, stealing at 7-Eleven. Nobody in Stinson wants that 7-Eleven. Slurpees weren't even healthy back then. Besides, it's Texas-based corporation where you get a 10 to 20 for a marijuana cigarette there if you're white, and life if you're other than white. A hippie woman comes in the store, squeezes 3 onions in her hand, one by one, she says, without looking up, that if the skins are broken, like these are, they start to absorb all the poisons in the air. And she stares at an onion way too long, stone. I never heard that cautionary tale, onion skin tears and toxic fears. Is an onion saving us from toxins in the air? Or is an onion spewing out its captured toxins into our soups? Something to think about, eh? I say, take them all. Don't want anyone to get sick. But she doesn't. She takes half a dozen or so to make some onion soup. She says, sticks them in her big coat pockets and walks out of the store without paying. Barry walks along the beach, rubbing her belly. Her daughter is in. A meerkat named Beatrice is Joe's. And sometimes I feel like Phil Oakes. We are living in the free world, and in the free world, you must stay. And does that mean we are prisoners of our own freedom, or shouldn't leave if we want to stay free? He kills himself. Richard Farina dies. Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, her ashes drop just off this beach. Elvis goes to Vegas. Those are just the bigger ones. Whatever I wanted then, my beach time, I left it there, buried it like a pirate's treasure with the only map in my sand time, shifting tidal pools, no return flights from all my futures past. I often return to dig where I think X marks the spot, and time never changes that. For time, sweet time passing. Never another place like that freak show. So free, so free. Thank you.
Let's give it up again for Todd. That's wonderful. Yeah, I feel like I've been at Stetson Beach, and I will say, one reason that Todd's writing is so interesting is that he's lived in so many different places, and some of them are listed in our program in his bio. Stetson Beach, Oakland, Washington State, Oklahoma, Alaska, and I love a left bank off the grid house in Nevada. I'm going to need more information about that, Todd. But that's one thing that makes his writing so special. And another factoid, and correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, I remember maybe a year or two, 3, 4 ago, you mentioned that Jerry Garcia came into the 7-Eleven that you were working at Stetson Beach and like liberated something without paying for it. Is that what happened? Oh, okay. All right. My bad. I got it wrong. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Sorry, Jerry. I know you're up there with your tie dye. Okay. Okie dokie. So I think now it's break time. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. You're gonna wait. Yes.
Before we go on break, I want to give 2 announcements. One is next month, we're doing, Walter Wilson is our host, and he is doing Lies and Tall Tales. And I'm sure there are many of you that know how to exaggerate a story that can catch our attention. So that is his theme for next month. Also, we are in mid-year, but Larry, Sir Lawrence that you met this morning, Sir Lawrence is our host chair. And we are looking for hosts to start next year. He's already got this year covered. But if anyone knows what month next year they would like to host a program and have something special, the host picks their theme. So it would be whatever you want to do. There's a month that seems favorable to you. Please, we'll contact Larry. Call him. His number is 399-1999. Almost everybody can remember that. 399-199, and call Larry. And then he records it, Sir Lawrence, sorry. And he records it on his Braille machine. So then Joyce puts out the information when we're done. So if you have anything that you want to have a theme for next year, let us know. And let's enjoy all the wonderful food that our dear hostess for every program, Vicki Carroll. Let's give her a warm thank you for Vicki for preparing. And Suzanne made a special Mediterranean chicken hummus.
I'm gonna pause the recording.
Wow.
And I really love Joyce's biography that's here in the program. I've been to Joyce's house and I can say she does have goats, chickens, dogs, and cats, and so many other wonderful things on her property. And I love that she wrote in her biography that she will tell stories to any audience, including her dogs and goats, but she can never get her cats and chickens to pay attention. So I want you guys to be like the dogs and goats. I want you to pay attention, okay? Don't be like the cats and the chickens.
Okay, I gotta move this out of the way.
Okay, do the view, put the view now on the speaker.
We can't get it back.
Can't get up on the top to the view?
That's okay.
And
It's
you
okay.
just do speaker.
It's okay.
Get back over here. Yep, we got you.
Okay.
Except that that's still now the. Well, yeah, the lines are. in there.
Doesn't make any difference. I think I forgot my story.
Take a deep breath.
There we go. Technology is not my thing. I have many skills, but technology is not one of them. This story takes place not quite 70 years ago. You gotta keep that in mind because 70 years is a long time.
Right.
Okay. Oh, I was in love with an image the first time a celebrity had really spoken to me. And his name was Jacques Stowe. And he was part of the team that developed the underwater, separate underwater scuba, which was helped to win World War II in the Pacific. After the war, he became a celebrity on the Calypso, sailing all the oceans of the world. And I was intrigued. I thought it would be wonderful. I didn't know anything about the ocean. I hardly even went to the beach. I'd only been there a couple times. And I was afraid to go in. So I announced to my family, I'm going to be a scuba diver. My mother said, Joyce, you know, you have some of the stupidest ideas I've ever heard. However, there are no scuba divers around here. You know nobody who dives. And women don't do scuba diving. It's too dangerous. I'm going to be a scuba diver. My father said, go ahead. He didn't think I'd ever make it. But I had I had to learn to be an expert swimmer. Step 1. Step 2, I had to take a scuba course. Step 3, I had to find a diving buddy that would take me to the ocean. Not so bad. I had time. I graduated from high school. I went to college. They had swimming courses. I took everything that the Red Cross offered, including something called open water rescue. And that was the toughest one. One of the tests to get the certificate was to run 1 mile, swim 5 miles, get out and run another mile. Okay, I got the certificate. Step 1, accomplished. Step 2, I only spent 3 years in college and then I went out as a probationary teacher. I had a job. I saved money. I didn't make much money. I won't even tell you what it was to begin a teacher in 1960. Anyway, I saved money because I looked for scuba schools and they were a lot of money. But the YMCA started a scuba class. So I went to the YMCA and I joined the class. We met 2 times a week, 2 hours. 1 hour was spent on the water in the pool. That was easy. 1 hour was spent on book work. That was hard. Things like charts. Questions like, if you're 50 feet deep in the ocean and you have 1 tank of air, how many atmospheres down are you? And how fast can you make an ascent without causing problems to your lungs? Now, I didn't know when I started that class that if you took a scuba tank and went back down to the bottom of a 10-foot pole, took a big breath of air, as much as you could hold, and held your breath and went up to the surface, you could kill yourself because you would be under so many. 8 feet is 1 pressure of atmosphere. So you have to be careful. Now they have things on you that you can wear, but then they didn't. You had to carry it all in your head. But I passed 2. I had a scuba diving permit, which allowed me to fill tanks with air. Okay. Number 3, I didn't know anybody who scuba dived. I didn't know anybody who dove anywhere. But I had luck. The YMCA had a diving club. Yoo-hoo! I found a buddy. I went to the diving club. All guys in their 20s, 25, 30, my age. I went in and boy, I was welcome. And I was talking to everybody. And then they found out that I wanted to join them and dive. I wanted a diving buddy. all of a sudden I was like a skunk at a picnic. I mean, one of them just looked like this down his nose and turned. I had never been rejected like that before. Well, after everybody who had been talking to me drifted away and nobody would talk to me anymore, I decided to leave. Looked like step 3 was going to be harder than I thought. Well, my cousin, I was telling my sad story to my cousin Jim, and he said, well, you know, I don't know a diver, but on my route, I occasionally to run into this guy named Ray, and I think he's a diver. If I run into him again, I'll talk to him about you. Okay, well, time went by. Finally, Jim called and he said, hey, I ran into Ray and he'll meet us at the coffee shop on Broadway, 21st Street. I think it's still there. And for coffee at 10 o'clock. Oh, good, I'm ready to go. Got there. I gave him my history. I built myself up. And he said, well, you sound like you're ready. He said, I'm willing to introduce you to the club and to join or not to join, whatever they decide. But here's the deal. If you want to dive, number 1, you carry your own gear, no whining, no griping. You dive beyond the tide pools and never, never cry. I can do that. So I went to the first meeting. I walked in, different atmosphere. It was on the old state fairgrounds. And there were about 15, 20, maybe 25, all older men. I think Ray was one of the younger ones. He was probably about 35, but they were for all the way up to 65 and 70. And they were welcoming me. One of the best divers, only had, your fingers. So they were willing to take me in, and their wives were fun and great. And Ray said he'd help me get set up for ocean diving. And I was going to have my first ocean dive. Small note here. When I took the test at that time, you didn't have to pass an open water test. Now you do. My son, to get his scuba license, had to go to the ocean and pass an open water test. Smart things. But I was ready to go. But I had to get ready first. I had to have a wetsuit. There were no manufacturers of women's wetsuits. I had to go to San Francisco to buy the neoprene, everything. Luckily for me, the wives were used to making for their husbands. They were also used to making things for themselves. They made me a full suit and it fit great. Ready. I tested out my weights. I had everything. Ray helped me fix my float and anchor, and off we went. Got to the ocean, spent the night, got up. We went to Salt Point Ranch. You can still go to Salt Point Ranch, but then it was a private ranch where you paid the guy a few dollars and he put up with the sheep and cows. And now it's a state park. Now, the morning I get up. It is really rough out there. Ray says, it's pretty rough for a first dive, and if you don't want to go, I can understand. Not me. I'm going, man. This is my time. So I got ready, got everything ready. We were all ready to go. And we went, we checked safety gear, everything ready? Everything ready? Yep, we were all ready to go. So we went out, paddled out. Here's the plan. We go out the cove, nice calm water. We swim around out beyond that point, because the point, if you've ever stood on it, is a point like all crashing surf, huge waves. Looks tremendous. But we're not going to go that way. We're going to go out and around, and it will be all under the water. None of that will affect us. And some of the best scenery is out there. Okay. We get ready, check our gears, get ready, bend at the waist, and down we go in a new world. A world that's beyond anything you've ever believed. Fish swimming around you, coming up and nibbling on your fingers. Forest, kelp forests, huge, with a ceiling of kelp above you. All these beautiful colors. The ocean is full of beautiful colors. And it's not rough up there. You just sort of float along and everything is waving and it's so friendly. And Ray was pointing out abalone and starfish and urchins with their purple spiky wings. And they're so purple under the water. Well, I was so excited. I had enough air for 2 hours. But because I was excited, I supped through my tank in just 1 hour. I tapped Ray on the shoulder and said, meaning I'm out of air. So he says, question, how can you be out of air? We got 2 hours of air and it's only. So up we go. He couldn't tell me that. He just had to. Okay, up we go. So we come up out of the water and I see where we're at. We're out beyond the point. And all Ray takes his mouth out and he says, "Oh, damn it." I turn around and there is a wall of water coming toward us that must be at least 20 foot tall, like that ceiling. And we're here. I turn back to him and he says, "We're going to try to swim out of this. Put your rate regulator mouthpiece in your mouth, and whatever you do, don't lose it. Your tank is up at the surface. It'll give you air. Don't take it out of your mouth." Okay, we'll probably make it. And so he says, "We're going to swim this way." And he takes off and he goes, and I'm on the beach side and we're swimming. And sure enough, that big wave comes and it lifts us up, 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 and over toward the point, over a huge rock. And all of a sudden, I fall. My float, Ray's float, and Ray are on the top of this large rock. I, on the other hand, am dangling from the end of my anchor rope about 3/4 of the way down the rock. He whipped out his knife, cut the rope, and said, "Keep your and swim. Keep your eye on the shore." So I did. Big wave, swim, swim, swim. I was quite a ways out. Another wave, swim, swim, swim. Well, if you've ever stood on a point, you know those big waves come in, and the bigger they are, the closer they get, because they can get over all those rocks. And then, at point in time, they aren't quite big enough. And it comes over and you get this churning, churning, churning thing. I made 3 progresses and then the next time my luck ran out. And I went over and you can't swim in that. You just hold on and hope and pray that you can keep hold of your regular. And I must have all tried been through it, but I held on. And as soon as it would calm down, I'd swim as fast as I could, keeping my eye on the beach. And it was up and swim a little bit, crash. Washing machine, washing machine, washing machine. being bounced around all the rocks. That rubber suit really helped. And all the way. And then and then through again. And the closer you got to the shore, the rougher it got. And when I got in fairly close and I could see the other divers climbing down the cliff to meet me, there was a small beach at the bottom, about, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet wide. Well, I tried to stand up, but I couldn't move because the anchor rope, I don't know how it got attached to me. It should have been loose, but it wrapped around my legs. And so I could just see this way with my hands. I got closer, and the last turn flipped me over with my tank between 2 rocks like a turtle on his back with 4 legs sticking up.
Wow.
That's when the other divers got to me. They took my tank off. They tried to get me to let loose, and I wouldn't. And finally, one of them just pried my mouth open, took regulator out. They took my flippers off, and they they unwound the rope and drug me to the sand. Right there, then, first check. We always have a diver that has lots of first aid. They get to the thing, they take my booties off, which are neoprene, and you can't walk up a cliff in neoprene. They would just slide all over. Anyway, so was barefooted and went up, got up on top. And then they checked me all out and took gloves off. After they checked my fingers, they took the gloves off. And when we got all finished, there was nothing absolutely wrong with me. I probably was going to have a lot of black and blue marks, and I did. But I fell into and lay down in the sun, took a nap, and Ray came, said, "We're going to go free diving, and we can understand if you don't want to go." I want to go. I've got my float. Can you attach the anchor? Yep. We got all ready. We went out and we started to free dive. I dove with them for the next 4 or 5 years. Now I have to admit, these were good divers. It took me at least 2. We could go out to the 45-foot and they could dive to the bottom at 45, spend enough time down there to gather abalone, shoot a fish. Okay, took me 2 years to reach 45, and I didn't have enough time to do anything but come back up. But I stayed with it, and I did learn to shoot a fish. I learned to gather abalone, and I have proof for you.
Oh,
This is one of my prize from diving.
Oh, wow.
It's gotten beat up in the last 60 years or so, but pretty good shape. It's never been polished. It's never been finished, but that's my story of my very first ocean dive and doing with waves. And I certainly was not what I expected, but it was beautiful and I kept it up. But then I had a family, kids, teaching full time.
Yep.
And I had to give up diving. There's no way you can continue diving. It's a full-time occupation. Thank you. Well done, you guys. Here, let me put up my junk. Thank you.
Was that an awesome story
Yeah.
or what? I mean, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh man. You know, I always kind of knew that Joyce was sort of badass. I always suspected it. Now I know absolutely for sure. Thank you so much, Joyce. That was great. Okay, well, I think we're at time, guys. We're at what time is it? It's yeah. So I just want to thank all of you for coming to our program today. And I encourage you, we have a little table here on the side. Please sign up, get on our email list. We will send you emails about all the events that we're doing. And you can communicate with us. If you want to tell a story, you can email us and let us know. You don't have to be a member of the Guild to participate. However, we encourage you to become a member. It's great. It's only $20 for a year for an individual membership. And this supports all of the free events that we host here, our monthly programs, our festival, and we do a lot of stuff in the community too. So it's a really great way to just support and storytelling in Sacramento. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. You're a great audience.
Thank God.
And, and I hope to see you all again.
Thank you, Michelle.
I'm gonna grab stuff under you.
Very good.
Yeah, that was the way to go. Oh, really? So you knew what she was talking about. I never, I'm smoking, like I smoked with the body and then I just think
I grew up in Fort Bragg,
I
and so I have seen them. And that's the most extraordinary show I had ever. Oh my God! I just we went out to jump up and down in the waves out by the Character Park. That was it. And my mother didn't know when I was out jumping in waves on Pudding Creek Beach, but nothing. That was a story. That was awesome. That blew me away. Yeah, it was. The fact that it's now, it's that I even did that. Oh my God, it's like that. You know, I mean, I couldn't do that. And this is when I got for just flipping.